Good morning, my neighbors! How you doing, Brother Craig? How you doing? Good morning, my neighbors!
Mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. How y'all doing this fabulous Monday morning? Welcome to Morning Motivation, your daily dose of inspiration and empowerment. I'm your host, Jamon, and I'm thrilled to have you join me this morning as we kickstart our day with positivity and purpose. So whether you're here to seek motivation, connect with like-minded individuals, or simply get your day started on the right foot, you've come to the right place. And as you're coming on in the door, go ahead and hit that like button. Let me know you're here. If you're a first-time visitor, say hello. I promise we won't bite. We are one big, happy family, and we welcome you to be a part of that family. Shout out to that chick, yo. What's good, cuz? Auntie Canada in the building. It's a happy Motivation Monday. Woo! Just a fair warning. This morning, your boy will be shooting from the hip. Oh yeah, definitely gonna be shooting from the hip today. Not completely shooting from the hip though. I do have some stuff planned. I do have a topic that we've already talked about, and this is probably the third part of that topic, and it's how to dominate in your 20s, 30s, and your 40s. And I even added them to your 50s too, because that's an important phase too. But we got through our spring season, and we got into our summer season. And now summer it's kind of a 30-year gap for summer. And I think that's one reason why people think they have so much time. I have time to figure it out. Put a one in the chat if you ever heard somebody say, I still have time. Or you've ever said to somebody, you still got plenty of time. Put a one in the chat if that's ever been your story. Yeah, your boy, man. I told you I was linking up with my guy this weekend for a birthday celebration. And we did it. We took it back to those early 20s. And let's just say your boy's still trying to recover. It's so bad. I walked in the room. My wife said, "Are you okay?" And it's pitch black dark. She see my silhouette, but my silhouette ain't looking that good. But y'all know. It was a good weekend though. It was a really good weekend. Anytime you can get together with old friends and have a good time, meet new friends and have a good time, and it's like y'all have known each other for years. That's what this weekend was for me. Then yesterday, had a spa session. So y'all don't tell my wife, but yeah, I got a random call one day for a new spa in town. They was opening up. They was looking for clientele. So they call your boy. They call your boy. Oh, my wife's in the building. Okay. Well, I'm going to tell the story anyway. So, cute little receptionist called your boy, was like, hey, Mr. Glover, you come high on our preferred list. We want to get you in and give you this spa service, this facial, this massage. I'm just like, why not? Why not? I deserve to be pampered. I deserve to have the kinks worked out of my muscles. To have my system operating at its optimal level. So I said yes. And yesterday was today. Oh man. I go to the spot. The first thing they tell me to do is like, okay, here's a towel and a washcloth, and get your shower in, and let your body relax and let the muscles begin to loosen up. So I'm just like, okay, I like where this is going. Afterwards, they give me this beautiful. It was a cotton robe, but it was like another material that it was very breathable, so I could feel the air coming through it as I'm walking down this corridor to get to this room. And I go into this room, and it's a beautiful massage table laid out. It's fountains going off here. It's diffusers in this corner. The lighting was right. And when I tell you what happened next, the specialist walked into the room. D-Rob, my guy, I'm not sure if you've been in the building, but I think Sunshine had just walked into that room. And I'm going to go ahead and cut the story off right there because some of y'all getting a little too excited. Okay, I see the sisterhood is starting to band, the Avengers starting to band together. Okay, for anybody who don't know my personality just yet, my wife set me up yesterday. She scheduled with her assistant, got together with your boy, and she laid her hands on me. I'm going to just tell you, my back was a little creaky. My back feels better. Oh, man, my shoulders are more relaxed. She did a thug dizzle, y'all. She did a thug dizzle. So shout out to my wife. Okay, see, I see the sisterhood got up in arms already, so we ain't gonna do that. We ain't gonna do that. All right. So, but that's part of the journey. What up, D-Rob? Life, man, as you going through and you traversing this thing called life. A lot of us are trying to get to a certain destination. And primarily we have the luxury of doing it right now. Yeah, we have that luxury of doing it now. Many years ago, life expectancy was 40, 50 years. So if a person turned 40 years ago, that was an old saying. Well, y'all remember what that saying was? For when somebody was hitting 40 or turning 40? D-Rob said, life definitely kicking my butt mentally. It's part of the journey, man. the purpose of life is the journey. It is the mission. It is becoming. It is becoming. Yeah, that statement was called Over the Hill. When I was growing up, and I would go to Kmart or what what was the Family Dollar back then was the popular one. That's right. That's just Over the Hill. Yeah. And you would see the balloons with all the caskets on it. It said R.I.P. It was black and silver. And then some would say Over the Hill, and some would have skeletons on it. And I remember seeing those balloons, and I'm thinking, those are not very friendly gifts. Those are not heartwarming and I appreciate you kind of gifts. Those people are mean. Are you celebrating somebody because they got old? And how old is old? And so it was like 40. If you're 40, you're old. Then a few years ago, your boy Hov came out and said, 30 is the new 40, or 40 is the new 30, or something like that. But once upon a time, the average person only lived till about 50. And if you lived to be 60, you were a wise elder. A wise elder. And so some of you may be a little young in the room, so these thoughts haven't started to happen in your mind yet because you're still trying to figure out who am I and where am I going. So I want to give you a little history for a few minutes. Once upon a time, not long ago, when people wore pajamas and lived life slow, when all was stern and justice stood, and people were behaving like you know what, that's the wrong story. Okay. All right. So once upon a time, technology was a hammer. And you would take your hammer, the bruh, 40 is 40, new 30 mile. Yeah, exactly. But I'm gonna get to that right now. You see, once upon a time, the life expectancy wasn't quite as long for a lot of different reasons. The first thing was infant mortality rates. We talk about, months ago, or a year ago, actually, almost now, how when animals are born, within minutes, they're up standing next to their mother, like a horse or a cow. Puppies take, a couple of weeks, but humans, we take years. And we're vulnerable to everything. Any kind of bug that's in the air, we can't protect ourselves against an animal that comes into our space. If there's a fire in the house, we can't even run about the house. Human infants are susceptible to any and all kinds of things that will take us out. We don't have our own ability to do anything. We can't even follow our parents. We just look at them and cry. That's pretty much all we can do. That's pretty much it. And so, I think they call it infant mortality rate, right? Well, let's also talk about birth. Do you know how complicated a process birth is? I think we take it for granted. I know a lot of you ladies don't take it for granted. But birth is very dangerous and it is very complicated. I think about my children. 3 of my children had problems at birth that could have ended their lives. My oldest daughter, she was a breech baby, which means she was in the wrong position. And then she had was the umbilical cord? No, she was crowned. Yeah, she was coming out, she was breached. And so she was coming out backwards, which could have not only killed her mother, but also caused a lot of damage to her as well. My second child, umbilical cord wrapped around his neck. Third child, premature. All 3 I could have 0 children right now. I could have 2 children right now. But because of technology and modern advancements, I have 5. Childbirth and what they call life expectancy or infant mortality, a lot of people never made it to their 5th birthday. But technology has changed the game to now that rate is so low that we don't even think that it was ever a problem. Just like we talk about when a woman, when a child is born, when a female is born, she has all the eggs in her that she's ever going to have. And so biologically, when a young girl turns between 12 and 15 or 11 and 15, that first egg drops. The first egg drops. I think you call that you start menstruating, right? And once upon a time, when you were able to, your cycle was starting, and you were able to produce or to incubate the male seed into a baby, then you were considered the age of consent, the age of majority, not age of majority, of legal age. And so there were a lot of what we call today child brides back then. But quite often, it was 13, 14-year-old boy and a 12-year-old girl who were be arranged marriages. And then they would live, their parents would buy them a house or build them a house on their property, and then they would live on that property, and then they would start their family. Because you got to remember, if you're 12 years old and life expectancy is only 40 to 50, well, you better get started as soon as possible, because you ain't got but about 30 years before your time is over. And that's if you made it to full 30. If you made it to full 30. Because there was famine, food insecurities, there was war. It wasn't communities like we have set up now. You were out in the sticks in a village, and your neighboring village was maybe 5 to 10 miles away. And so if a couple of mountain lions came through your village, well, they're gonna take out probably, a substantial amount of people. If a bear came into your camp and started dragging off, then you got to form hunting parties to go kill this bear or these mountain lions or whatever. But how many people die in that process? If there was a summer that was too hot and you couldn't grow your vegetables, if there was too much rain, there was a flood, a hurricane came, you wouldn't expect it to live very long back in the day. I know this is more than motivation. I don't mean to start out so morbidly, but I think we're so used to where we are now, we forget that it was different once upon a time. If you were a 20-year-old woman and you hadn't had children and you wasn't married or had any prospects of marriage, they would call you an old maid. And God forbid if you got 30 and didn't have any children and wasn't married, what they would call you. But think about it. If you got your cycle, ladies, at 12 years old, and you didn't have a child until you were 30, what's that? Is that 18 years? You've been having cycles for 18 years. And when you're born, you have all the ones you have in you. So, matter of fact, let me do what's my calculator? Let's go 18 years times 12 months. You've had 216 cycles. Where you were either had the opportunity to become pregnant or not. But who knows how many healthy eggs you started with? What if you only started with 200? What if you had 400? Does it matter? You see, the things that we take for granted today, people understood once upon a time. It was necessity. It was how we survive. So the conversations we have now, we tell our daughters now, don't be in a rush to settle down. Go out and live life. Go out and experience the world. Before you start a family, before you getting what? Who? I'm sorry, y'all, but I'm like, okay, never mind. I think y'all might have heard that truck. I don't know what that was. A car actually, but I hadn't heard it before. It is very loud, and I couldn't figure out if something happened outside my house or not. So y'all, forgive me for that. So I'm a protector, right? Make sure no invaders are about to come into my crib and do something that they're gonna regret. But anyway, yeah. So, it was a thing to where you would have 14, 15-year-old girls pregnant, married, starting families early. And by the time they're 40, they're grandparents. By the time they're 35, they're potentially grandparents. Because then they would go off to, the men would go off to fight in the war with another village, or they're hunting these animals that posing threats, and a lot of them didn't come back. If you sprung your ankle, if you twisted your ankle, if you got a hangnail and you didn't know how to treat it, if you had an ingrown toenail, imagine what you did with a toothache in that day and time. You see, technology has changed the game. Advancements have changed the game. So now life expectancy has gotten much greater. Because now, if somebody dies in their 60s, man, they were still so young. They were still so young. Had so much life ahead of them. We kind of expected in between 70s and 80s. That's really the expected, is that a word? Expected? The expected window. That's really the expected window, right? 70, 80, 70 is still a little young. We expect people to make it into their 80s now. And so culturally, things have changed. Biologically, though, they haven't. Still haven't changed. But our bodies were designed or created to create more life. And there's a window when we can do that. Well, ladies more so. Guys, we don't really have that same window. A man can create babies at 70 and 80. As long as when we start pumping the flow don't stop. Now, can we still make the pump work is the question. But there's water always in the pump. Once the water starts flowing, it never shuts off from in. But society, our cultural norms are dictated by society now and the culture that we want versus how it used to be, what survival really looked like. And so we talked about those pre-teen or them teenage years, the preteen years, the spring of life when everything is new. When you're just learning how to adapt. You're learning how to be here. And then you go off into your 20s. And now you got your first taste of freedom. Oh man, I remember the 90s, man. I became an adult in the 90s, D-Rob. The era of Freaknik. Black Bite weekends. Spring breaks. I mean, bro, I grew up. I hit my summer years in a very interesting time. Very interesting time. I used to refuse, well, I still refuse to watch some of those documentaries about that because I'm like, man, if I see myself in that Joker, bruh. Oh no, let the past stay in the past. I don't want to watch it. I don't want to reminisce on those times. But those look, those was my prime stomping years there. When I was carefree. Ooh, yeah, tell me about it, right? When I was carefree, I thought the world owed me something, and I'm gonna go ahead and get all of it too. I'm about to go get all of it. So yeah, possibilities are endless in your 20s. But then you start to settle down a little bit and you getting around that age 30. And now you have about 10 years of adult life experience. You've seen a few things. You've made sense of what didn't make sense previously, at least from your own perspective in your community. And you start seeing where people that took this path ended up over here, and people that took that path ended up there, and you started making that decision, which path do I want to be on? This is where you at now, D-Rob. You have a dream, you've seen some examples, and now you want to go, but now you got to walk this thing out. And the road has a lot of bumps and potholes and fallen trees. And you're trying to figure out which move is the best move. Most people are starting families in their 30s. Most people are thinking about retirement age in their 30s. They're thinking about their kids' college fund in their 30s. But what's the one thing they hadn't figured out quite as much as they think about those other things? Somebody tell me, what's the one thing that they still don't understand yet? You're thinking about college funds, kids, PTA, sports, school shopping. What's the one thing you still don't quite understand yet in your 30s? Anybody know? Yep, in your 30s, you don't even know who you are yet. You still trying to figure it out. Because every time you think, hey, you go to trying to reach at themselves. Yes. Because every time you think, okay, I like this, I like that. All right, whew, you change. Your body changes. Hormonally, you change. Mentally, you change. Spiritually, you change. Physically, you change. So when I made the statement last week that your 30s is probably the hardest phase to go through, it's because your body, your mind, and you're going through so many changes in your 30s. Hairline starts going back a little bit for the fellas. You start getting one or two little gray strings here or there for the ladies. You start getting a little, what they call crow's feet. You start getting them smile lines in your face. Lines across your forehead. And you start to look like one of your grandparents or your parents a little bit. And then you realize you don't even have the same energy that you had when you was 21 versus 32. You start noticing that people are treating you different. They're looking at you different. Because you've learned now. You've seen too much. You've done too much. You're not as easily impressed. And so now you're focusing on that value. What do I bring to the table? What do I expect from other people who come into my life? And so the 30s are the most complicated time. But now, we sliding on into them 40s. This is probably the largest age demographic that, I have as far as people that view this channel. There are those, that late 30 to them 40s. Because that's my age, right? That's my age group. I speak most effectively to that age group because it's still fresh on me. I learned a lot. I made a lot of mistakes during that time, so I can relate to people in that age group a little bit better than I can anybody younger than that or older than that. And so let me tell you, the 40s it truly is just the beginning in this day and age. The 40s is where you have a more firm grasp on who you are. You actually have a little bit more authority. D-Rob said 40s seemed like a great time. The 40s is, for me, the 40s has been an amazing ride. And the reason I say that is, and it's just my situation, because I'm still in good health. My parents blessed me with good DNA, some good genes. And so I don't feel like I've heard other people say they felt when they were 40. I promise you, I feel like I did when I was 30. Until I get around some 30-year-olds, and then I realize, no, I'm not there. But I feel good. I don't have any crazy health concerns or challenges that's preventing me from living my life. I'm old enough now to garner respect any room that I walk in, but I'm still young enough to have a good time. And I mean like spiritually young, mentally young. To still be able to go out there and have a good time, hang out all night, do the things that I used to do that I did irresponsibly now. I can now do it, but much more responsibly. Have a little more money in my pocket, have a little bit more experience behind me. As a man, I can only speak for me, but I can date anybody from 18 to 80. 18 to 80. I'm in that range where I can appeal to every group as a 40-year-old. If I dated a 20-year-old, I'm robbing the cradle. She too young for you. If I dated an 80-year-old, oh girl, she's a cougar. Rawr, get him. Just depends on, whose eyes you looking through. Depends on whose eyes you looking through. But as a 40-year-old man, I felt like I was just becoming into my greatness, my era, my time. Because when I was 20, the world didn't look at me as really having a lot of value. D-Rob said 30 is hard, and I'm only 30. Yeah, at 20, I wasn't really respected by the culture. I didn't have enough experience to talk to a man. At 25, I can't talk to a 35-year-old and tell him, about life. He's gonna look at me like I'm crazy. I can talk to older ladies, but guess what? But they only really want one thing from me. They ain't looking for no companionship for real. Not for me. Not a 25-year-old, because I ain't got enough life experience to make the conversation interesting. So there's other reasons why older women like younger men. Younger men are a little easier to mold into, and they have stronger backs. 25-year-old me versus 45-year-old me, our back game is different, totally different. But I've matured in other areas now that I wasn't then. And one thing that I've realized as I'm in my 40s, on the backside of 40 now, I realized that I wasted too much time trying to be what I thought I was supposed to be. Having this unattainable dream of perfection. Looking for the perfect house, spouse, raising the perfect children, the perfect job. I mean, when I say perfect, I mean perfect for me. And as I'm getting to the backside of 40, I'm realizing there is no such thing as perfection. There is no ideal time to do this or to do that. I wanted to have my children in my 20s. Once I decided, once my first daughter came, because I didn't care if I had kids at night okay if I had them or not at first. But once my daughter was born, I wanted to get all my kids out of the way in my 20s. Because then I would be free at 40. And I had that thing mapped out, man. When I was 40, my youngest child was, when I turned 40, my youngest child would have been 17, 16, 17, 18 range. And it worked out just that way. That's I had in my mind, I planned that out. And then somewhere along the line, Jordan came, and Jordan was 6 years younger than Junior. So I'm like, dang. So that pushed me back, like behind the curve. Now, why did I want that? I just wanted it because I just wanted to get it out of the way. Because if I'm having one, might as well go and have as many as I can. Go and get it out of the way, right? Didn't have a real rhyme or reason. Whatever happens, happen. My bad. I went off on a little thought there for a second. So yeah, anyway, I realized then that trying to get to this unattainable idea of perfection was making me miserable. Instead of enjoying each day as it came, you know, the old saying, you know, one day at a time. I wasn't enjoying life one day at a time because I was 5 years in the future, 10 years into the future. Instead of showing up my best each day, I was projecting myself 5 years down the road and then trying to figure out how to get there. This is why I stress having the overall goal and then creating a plan. And then you spend your days working the plan, but also enjoying the process. And once you get into your 40s, you start to understand that a little bit more. In some cases. Sometimes, though, when we have mismanaged our 20s, some of us have even mismanaged our 30s. And we get into those spaces where we start to panic. Does anybody know what you would call it when you hit this certain age and you start questioning your whole life, all your decisions? And now you want to make all these major changes in your life and you want to do something different. Does anybody know what that's called? It goes right behind the over the hill thing. When you see the guy go out and he buy him a brand new sports car, get him an 18-year-old girlfriend. What do most people think he's going through? Yeah, that's it. Midlife crisis. Oh, okay, Auntie Candace said, or a crossroad. Yeah, that's definitely a crossroad. And honestly, that generally happens when. Okay, well, I have two ways of looking at it. When I was 20, now, I'm not a car guy, but let's say I was. Let's say when I was 22, I wanted a S-Class Mercedes, S700 or something like that. The big body, because I seen some of my favorite entertainers with it. Or I wanted the Range Rover. Well, odds are, at 22, I can't afford either. We're talking about six-figure cars, 250,000, 180,000 cars. I can't afford that. It would take me almost 5 years to make $100,000 as a 22-year-old because I'm only making about $24,000, $25,000, $26,000 a year as a 22-year-old on average. But what happens when I hit 42 though? I've been around a little longer. Got a little bit more cachet when I walk in the room. I'm making close to that 6 figures now. If I'm already not making 6 figures now. So guess what I can afford now? I can afford that S700. I can afford that range. And so now people see me doing that and they say, oh yeah, he is 40, ain't he? He going through that midlife crisis. No, it's not a midlife crisis. It's I can afford it now. I've always wanted this. Now I get a chance to get it. But if I mismanaged my 20s and I mismanaged my 30s, at 40, I still can't afford it. This is why I want to take us through 20, 30, 40, and even into 50. Because the success the foundation you lay in your 20s will be the success that you have in your 40s and in your 50s and in your retirement years. If you just followed the status quo and you went to school, you went to the military, you did things that kind of set you up to have a good 30s and a good 40s, you can pretty much afford most of the things you want in your 40s. But if you mismanaged it, I think these are the people who experience the midlife crisis. Just my personal thought. Could be true for some. This might really be a really general, broad statement. But I've just seen so many times that the people they were still living their best life in their 20s, but they had a job. They had a career path. They had some education behind them. They had the government, machine behind them. They got a job and they stayed at home with their parents till they were 24, 25, and they stacked their money, and then they bought their first house at 28. They tend to have a much better 30s, and they're more prepared for life in their 30s, which set them up for their 40s. But for the people that mismanage their 20s and their 30s, this is when I think the midlife crisis truly kicked in. Because you start to realize that, one, I am so far behind my peers. My body is changing. I don't have the stamina and the strength that I used to have once upon a time. I was known for this and for that. But as I'm getting older, it's harder for me to do those things. Where does my value come from now? What is my worth? If I was a ditch digger and I got my shovel, I went out and I dug everybody's ditch. And I was the best ditch digger out there. I mean, people would hire me from miles around to dig their ditch, to run their lines, their plumbing lines. This is back in the day. This is not currently. But I'm just using this as an example. And I've been digging ditches for 20 years. I'm the best ditch digger in the history of ditch diggers. But then I hit 42. And I'm digging the ditch, and I run into a large mass of stone or mountain under the earth. And I hurt my back while digging this ditch. Y'all know where I'm going with this, right? Because I've only been a ditch digger. Shout out to my ditch diggers out there. Because I didn't get any more education, I didn't get any more skills, I banked that I was going to be able to have this strong back for the rest of my life. And now that it's not happening, now I have to struggle and make a new plan, make a new move. Because now my back is healed up. But because I was out of work, now somebody has gotten smarter. And they've learned how to create some tools that will help them dig ditches faster. Because I was charging a pretty penny for it. But now, they ain't got to pay me as much because now they're going to get, you know, 3 20-year-olds and pay them less than they paid me just by myself. And now somebody's hiring all the 20-year-olds to go dig all the ditches. And now I got to shift gears real quick because my skill set is no longer valuable. And ladies experience this when, and ladies, don't feel no way about what I'm about to say. But when I was 20 years old and my sister was 20 years old, my sister had a more higher value than I had because she was born with it. It was her beauty. It was her looks. When she walked in a room, the richest man in that room would turn his head and be like, Claude, have mercy. What's your name, girl? But as a 20-year-old man, if I walk in the room and the richest woman in that room would look at me and be like, I can't be seen in public with that guy. But call me later, though. Call me later. But I can't be seen in public with you. You know, a beautiful girl, a beautiful young woman, just her presence adds value to any room. And any man worth his salt. Why am I sugarcoating this? Y'all know men love beautiful women. This is what it comes down to, right? And the more beautiful you are, the more value you bring to a room as a lady. The only problem with that scenario is that beauty is different across the stages. Value changes over the stages. If you are a 21-year-old woman and you are a strong, on a bad day, you are 6.5, and on a good day, you are 8.5. You know, you have that gray area where you float in between on any given day. At 20. At 30, it's still there. It actually is better. You probably look better at 30 than you did 20. At 40, you still look good. You're in better shape. You take better care of yourself. D-Rob, you hopping off, huh? D-Rob, I'm getting off the wagon on this one. That's my only comment for the morning, y'all. But I'm being transparent. I'm being honest. I'm being transparent this morning. And so my generation, I'm a Gen Xer. And so my generation, there are some extremely beautiful women that's in my age group, but they don't understand what their value to the market is, what their value to the culture is. Imagine me as a man pushing 50 years old, and I'm walking around these streets with my shirt off. I'm swinging over my head like it's a helicopter. I'm still trying to drag race cars. I'm out here trying to holler at everything moving. Ladies, what would y'all think of me? A man damn near 50 doing that. Because this is what I did in my 20s. Still being irresponsible. Still trying to hop on every pickup game out there, you know what I'm saying, on the basketball courts. Gerardo said, getting carded in my 40s. Thank God for great DNA, right? Y'all would say, bro, I need to go sit down somewhere. Bro, you too old to be doing that, bro. What is you doing? Everybody would tell me that. If I'm the guy, y'all remember when Goldie from I'm Gonna Get You Sucker? Not Goldie, yeah. The pimp from I'm Gonna Get You Sucker. Yeah, they was having a midlife crisis, right? And then the guy from I'm Gonna Get You Sucker, the movie, when he got out of jail, you know, he went in jail, he spent 10 years in prison, and when he got out, he still had the platform shoe with the goldfish in them, you know, the bell bottoms. And he's walking down the street, you know, like he was the Mac. He was the man. D-Rob said, I don't see nothing wrong with getting on the court. Yeah, it is exercise. Yeah, I just threw that one in there. But look, it is exercise. But guess what? As a man my age, guess what? I know I can't do that. I can go play a game or two, but I can't do it like I did it when I was 26. I can't go do it. Fly Guy, that's the name. Just appreciate the credit. Fly Guy, the name. And so, with age should come wisdom. Really, is all that I'm saying. With age, it should come some wisdom. And I'd be considered kind of doing a little too much. If every girl my son brought home, I'm trying to holler at too. Oh, bro, she fine, bro. Hey, girl. Let me take you to the stove real quick. Buy you a freeze pop and a bag of Skittles. He said, D-Rod said, I got the ice high ready for you, dog. Yeah, bro, I'm gonna need it. My body don't recover like it used to. But as a man, it's easy, it's obvious. My value as a man has shifted. I'm no longer the guy you are looking to go do the heavy lifting. Where them young boys at? Come on, y'all come over here, y'all move this stuff. You ain't gonna have grandpa out there chopping a tree down with an axe, splitting wood. No, that's a job for the younger men. Can he do it? Yes. Will he still do it? No doubt. But wisdom says I've gotten older. I need to now use my mind more than I use my muscles. I need to be using my mind. I need to be teaching these younger men how to do these things. Because at some point in time, my body will say no more. And if my value is based off of what my body can do, then I'm going to always limit myself to earning smaller, more injuries, more physical hardships. But if I start to use the maturity and the wisdom that I have, and I start seeing my value being more here, I'm now more a value to my family. Because now I can give my sons, I can give my daughters the knowledge that I've acquired, give them the head start. I'm not competing with my sons or my daughters. It's my job to lay the foundation for them so that they can move at lightning speed. Oh, see, but you get it though, D-Rod. D-Rod said one positive on moving to Florida. I'm no longer the person to call to look to move furniture for somebody. Yeah, because if somebody said, "Hey, bro, my family, we moving. We got this 7-room house. We want to move over here." What you calling me for? Don't, bro. Nope. Don't call me. Hey, Junior. Hey, you get some of your homies together. Y'all go help this man move. But, I'll go supervise. But, hey, man, what I look like? No, sir. So, yeah, D-Rob, you get it. That's what I'm saying. And so we've put the midlife crisis on dudes for so long that we forget that women go through midlife crisis as well. Never in my days have I seen 50-year-old hot girls. No offense, ladies. But it's not supposed to be a thing. They better call Ghostbusters. That's not, a 50-year-old hot girl is not supposed to be, wasn't never supposed to be the deal. It wasn't. And I'm not going to get off onto this tangent. So I'm gonna stop that right there. I'm going to stop right there. Because I don't want the sisters ganging up on me and showing them my dough later. But facts is facts. If you are a 45, 50-year-old woman trying to compete with a 25-year-old woman should not be nowhere near your thought process, because the value is different. Her value is based on what she was born with, not what she's earned, not what she's created. Dear, hey D-Rob, I thought you said you was that was your only comment, bro. You might open a can right now. But hey, for the 99 in the 2000s, bro, I seen the woman was doggone. She had to be. She was a few years older than me, and when certain songs would come on, man, I'm just like, hey, reminisce. I get you. I get you. I ain't mad at you. Go on, drop it. Go on, do that thing, girl. Yeah, but culturally, see, all right, D-Rob, I can't. We ain't got enough time left for the show for me to even open that can of worms. All right, so, what are signs of a midlife crisis? I want to go into that, signs of a midlife crisis, because a midlife crisis is something that we all experience, just depending on how you set your life up. Some of us we mismanaged our 20s and we recovered in our 30s. Some of us did good in our 20s and then we just threw it away in our 30s. I mean, there's no one thing, no one pattern. No, as humans, we're all unique and we do things a little different. So my bad, I'm feeling good on this Monday, man. Appreciate you, homie. Appreciate you. But yeah, so we all have different experiences in life, and it's overarching theme that I'm gonna get into on Wednesday. But we'll get there on Wednesday. Can I be 30 in a midlife crisis? I mean, what does the term midlife actually mean, though? It's like you at that tipping point where you only got about 30 years left. So if you want to be checking out at 60, claim it. If you don't want to check out at 60, then don't claim it. But I would say you just getting started. You just figuring it out right now. Because you haven't been an adult long enough yet to be really considered in a midlife crisis. You still got another 10 years to go before you even start to even understand who you are for real and what you actually do want. But because you're on path right now, because you on mission right now, you're gonna go through life, you're gonna make the mistakes, you're gonna see what the do's and the don'ts are. And by the time you actually hit your 40s, you're gonna be in a much better position to demand, whether it's more money, whether it's attention, time, respect. But if you mismanage your 20s and your 30s, still just trying to kind of figure it out, and then you get into your 40s, that's when you start seeing more of what we call the midlife crisis. That was my next question. So what is the crisis? All right, got you. All right. A midlife crisis is a period of emotional turmoil and self-reflection that some people experience as they approach or enter their middle age, typically their 40s or 50s. It is often triggered by feelings of dissatisfaction or questioning the direction of one's life. Did that make sense to you? I read a definition for you. Emotional turmoil and self-reflection. Most people will hit between 40 and 50. Generally coming from some kind of a dissatisfaction about where their life is and where it's going. One of the first things though is a sudden desire for major life changes. A sudden desire for major life changes. So now when you see the guy turned 45, he divorced his wife for 20 years, he gets him an 18-year-old girlfriend in a Ferrari. That's considered what the midlife crisis is. But it could also get in a BBL, mommy makeover, whatever you call it. developing the gym obsession. I mean, it could be so many different things. But the key thing in there is that they're mostly impulsive decisions. They're mostly impulsive decisions, emotional decisions. Feelings that I haven't done anything. I haven't accomplished anything. If I don't change it now, I never will. And they go out there and they just throw caution to the wind. They throw aside all maturity. Yeah, man. Yeah, BBL, yeah. That's a major life change. Because in all honesty, a big booty doesn't really bring you a lot of value outside of your 20s and your 30s. I mean, because what is that? That is something that is used in the mating space, right? When you had bigger features, you were a good it was perceived that you were more fertile. If you had large breasts, it was like, oh, supple, fertility, procreation. And so once you go into your 40s and there's guys out there who are going into the space where they're trying to do the fake abs. They're trying to do I've read this one thing where one guy was doing some leg lengthening. He added 3 inches to his height. And it was ridiculous how the procedure is. It's like, bruh, I'm good on that. I am so good on that. But now, a midlife crisis. Actually, let me hit a few more of these. It's actually 5 things that I put down here. So the first one was sudden desire for major life changes. It could be impulsive decision or unrealistic goals. Number 2, increased focus on appearance and youth. That's why makeup companies, they're selling all these skin repair serums and creams, because they know at that midlife point, there are a lot of men and women, or women and men, who are concerned about looking younger. When I started the show, I was clean shaven. You didn't see any of my gray. And so I looked younger. I'm not really one that cares about, I like gray hair. So, for me, when I'm clean shaven, it's because I just feel like cutting it off. And then when I grow back, I grow back. But I'm never coloring or dyeing, or I am what I am. My value isn't in whether I got gray or I don't have gray. My value is in what's between these ears. And it took me a long time to get there. People pay for knowledge. People pay for results. They pay big money for it. All right, my guy. Go ahead and do your thing, bro. I'll let you on Wednesday. Oh, man, it is after 8, ain't it? Woo, yeah, all right. Let me go on down this list a little bit more. All right, so increased focus on appearance and youth. Concerning with aging, usually changes in appearance. Number 3, emotional volatility or mood swings. That is a big one. Feelings of depression or anxiety, irritability, frustration. A lot of that happens because you look at where you are in your life and you're not content. And so you start doing a bunch of things to try to compensate for some of the mismanagement, or you just went through a bad period. And you realize you're nowhere near where you should be. Your siblings are outperforming you. Your children have gotten old enough to understand that mommy and daddy's been lying to me. They always saying they're going to do something, but they don't never do it. That was a huge thing in me when my children started turning 15 and 16, and I would tell them something, and I hear them mouth something back, and it be true. Oh, yeah. Number 4, a preoccupation with the past. Nostalgia for youth, man, back in the day. Man, back when we was in high school. Oh, man, yeah, those were the days. regrets and second guessing. Man, I knew I should have dated you. I knew you were the one. I messed up. I should have went with my first mind. Yeah, I know you've all heard it. All right, number 5. Dissatisfaction with accomplishments and life direction. You look at your life and you think, man, this is not where I thought I was going to be. I thought I could do it on my terms, but it's not working out that way. I'm feeling like I'm becoming more traditional as I get older. Why? Because tradition has worked. It's what's proven to work. So many people in their 20s and 30s want to break all the cultural norms and all the cultural stereotypes. But guess what? The traditional stuff is what's proven. It's what has sustained us and kept us going for thousands of years. Some of this new stuff that we try to do, it's not helpful. It's not productive. It really sets us back. It's like gambling. The house is set up to win, but they'll let you get some crumbs as long as you keep feeding the beast. That's why I don't gamble, because I know it's not set up for me to win. Now, I might get lucky once, but guess what they know? If I get lucky once, I'm going to come back and spend twice as much, 3 times as much. Tradition has been proven over thousands of years. It works. And what happens is we go the non-traditional route, and the people that go the traditional route have more success earlier and later because there's a plan to get you from A to B. But when you try to circumvent the system, very few people actually get it done. Now, I'm not saying I want you guys to go out there and find a tradition to be a part of. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this. Things that have worked for a reason. Things that haven't worked didn't work for a reason. But it's what you do in your 20s and 30s that will set you up for your 40s and beyond. And only you can decide what that looks like. But don't lie to yourself. Don't lie to other people. Don't try to lie to me. I can see what life is for what it is because I've experienced a lot of it. Because I understood that my biggest value was here. Yep, I got strong muscles and I can do a lot of physical things. But that's not where I'm going to make my money long term. That's not where I'm going to be happy long term. That's not the most value I can give to my family and to my community. Because strength fades. Black hair turns gray. Perky pecs and breasts fall down. They hang a little low at some point in time. Your teeth gonna wear out. What was new one day will not be new anymore. And that doesn't mean you're less valuable as a person. You may be less valuable in certain spaces, but you're more valuable in other spaces. And so dominating your 20s, your 30s, and your 40s, it's a process of evolution. It's a process of growth. Don't be afraid of the transition. Don't be afraid of the change. Embrace it. Embrace, if you just hit 40 and you go off past, embrace that there's a new generation of women that's taking your place in the dating scene. If you're a man turning 40, embrace that there are no new generation of men that are replacing you in those tough labor jobs in athletics and sports and entertainment. I mean, it's the transition. It's supposed to happen. The people that were jealous of you when you were there, they were probably late 30s, early 40s because they saw their day ending in that field, in that space. And you were the new one. But times move on. And so now, what was our spring and our summer now turns into our autumn, our fall, and as we head to our winters. So, That midlife crisis. We're going to talk about this a little bit more on a Wednesday as we go into the next phase. But the midlife crisis, it's way more than we think, and we all experience it. Just some of us experience it harder depending upon how we managed our lives, what we did through our 20s. So I've been telling my children lately, the success you have in your 20s is going to be the foundation laid for what you do in your 40s. I started family. At 23, I had 3 babies and married. And so there is no wonder today that I have the relationship that I have with my children, because I gave them the time and the attention. Because I truly did. I enjoyed the moments. I didn't go out and make as much money as I could have made. But now I can do that because now I'm more mentally stronger. I have more things to offer mentally than I ever did physically. But I still have my struggles, because trauma is a very real thing. And sometimes it's the traumas that hold us hostage. And when we get past the point, we can't blame those who gave us the trauma. At some point, we got to start blaming ourselves for still living there. But anyway, I'm going to get off of that soapbox right now. I told you I was shooting from the hip today, man. A lot happened over the weekend. A lot going on in my mind. A lot going on in my life. But life is good, though. And it truly is what you make it. But you have to be intentional about it. You can't just sit around and think things are supposed to happen. You can't sit around and think that things won't change, because they will change. The moment you get comfortable in a certain situation, the moment you say, I can relax now, just like that, it's going to change. So we always have to be sharpening our saws. We always have to enjoy the moments, because the storms will come. The storms will come, whether you prepared for them or not. And the storm don't care if you don't have an umbrella or if you out in the middle of a field. It's going to rain just as hard or just as soft. So understand who you are and the value that you bring. What makes you you isn't just the outer shell. It's more the inner shell. We wear this shell. But who you are deep down, your true essence, it's eternal. It'll never die. So spend your time setting up that person for success. That's the one that's going to sustain you through everything that you have to endure. That inner person. And then once that inner person is fed and nourished, the outer person begins to shine. But if all you're doing is feeding the outer person and starving the inner person, that's when life gets complicated. That's when people begin to truly struggle. And this channel is about personal development and success. And I want you to live the best life possible. I said, my God, please do the math. Okay, I can take that a whole lot of ways. But what up, sis? Good to see you. Oh, man. All right, guys, I got to get up out of here. I got a new intern coming in today. I got to do some training with. So, you guys, thank you for joining me this morning. If you enjoyed the episode, please share it with somebody else. If you haven't liked the video yet, go ahead and like it. Give it that thumbs up. And let people know, man, we doing big things on Morning Motivation, man. It's tough work. It is tough work. Looking at yourself in the mirror, seeing where you are, and then doing something about it. That's strength. That's power. The hardest job you're ever going to have is dealing with you. All right, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you on Wednesday. Y'all be blessed. Have a great day. And get this Monday started on the right foot. Peace.